Hello BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and today I am doing a review video. I was lucky enough to be accepted for a NetGalley advanced reader copy, so goes straight onto your Kindle, copy of Winner's Crime by Marie Rutkoski, which is the second in the Winner's Curse series by her. I hadn't read the Winner's Curse, but I'd heard brilliant things about it, and I thought I'm going to see if I can get an advanced reader copy of that and then read the two back to back. So full disclosure, the second book obviously was free via the publisher onto my Kindle, but it won't affect my review of this book. However, as it turns out, it's a phenomenal series. So I'm going to do the review today of The Winner's Curse and Winner's Crime by Marie Rutkoski. I hope I'm saying that right, so I apologise if I'm not. So firstly, let me just give you a little bit of information about the book. It's published by Bloomsbury Children, and the Winner's Curse has 368 pages, and I would place it in YA fantasy, perhaps. The reason I picked this up is that I just kept seeing it on BookTube and loads of people had read it, and it just got raved about by everybody, and I happened to see it when I was looking on NetGalley and they had the second one, and I thought, right, I'm really going to read this and get into it and give it a go, and it just felt like the right time. I picked Winner's Curse up on the 29th of December and finished it on the 31st of December, and that was only because I had a lot on. I would have read it a lot sooner. And Winner's Crime I picked up that same day on the 31st of December and finished it within the day. So needless to say, both of these were 5-star reads for me. Part of me was quite apprehensive going into reading these books because of all the hype on BookTube. Recently, I have been disappointed with some of the books that I've read that have been overhyped, or not necessarily overhyped, but have been hyped up and a lot of people have been reading them. The story is about Kestrel, and she's a member of the Valorian ruling class. She's the general's daughter, and she buys a slave at a slave auction. The slave belongs to the Harani, which is a class of people that the Valorians, who Kestrel is part of, have conquered. From the outset, I expected Romeo and Juliet, West Side Story, two people falling in love, and I have to admit, because it was YA, I did expect insta-love. However, I couldn't be more wrong. Not necessarily on the Romeo and Juliet and West Side Story, but definitely on the insta-love. There wasn't insta-love at all, and that was really refreshing. Recently, I don't know if you've watched my Bell Jar and Bell Jar reviews, but I've become a lot more interested in the titles of stories and their relevance to the story. And so when it came to The Winner's Curse, I was intrigued at what that actually meant. It's briefly touched on in the story, but I did go onto Google and have a little look to see for myself. And The Winner's Curse is a phenomenon that occurs in many sort of common value auctions. It's where the winner tends to overpay for a product, which I just thought was an interesting concept, and I really liked that the title fit in with something within the book, which I won't talk too much about because obviously I don't want to spoil anything for you. In this world that Kestrel lives in, it has little sort of hints. It feels a little bit like the Roman Empire. It's got that sort of feel about it, that if you were part of the Valorian class, you're either married or in the military by 20. And what I really, really loved about this story is there was no discrimination about sex. Kestrel is a female, and obviously, although that she is expected to be married, she could also go to the military. And in fact, her father is pushing for the military. And there's no talk, oh, you're a female, you'd have to do certain jobs. So I really, really liked that there wasn't that sort of feeling about it that, you know, women all must be married and men go off to fight. And I really enjoyed it. It was quite refreshing, actually, to have that sort of expectation that, you know, just everyone joins the military or gets married. This book really played with my emotions. There were times where I was nearly crying. There was times where I was shouting at the book. There was times where I felt my heart racing because the excitement was getting to me, and I haven't felt like that in a little while. You know, I do feel like that feeling with books is what I look for, and that's how I know that it's a really good book and that I'm really enjoying it, and it forces me to just keep reading because I just can't possibly put it down because I can't miss what's going to happen. I loved that Kestrel was a strong, intelligent female character. She's really clever, she's a good strategist, she thinks things through, and I love that about her, that they have given a female a strong, intelligent mind. It just made it even more interesting to me. I also love the dynamic between Kestrel and the other main characters, and often with certain YA books, and I don't want to pigeonhole all YA books the same, but often with these type of books that do involve romance, there is a lot of like, oh, I'm just not going to tell him, and that is going to cause all of the problems. You know, they just don't communicate and you're shouting at the book, well, just talk to each other and it'll all be sorted out. And actually, in this book, although there are secrets and things being kept from the other character, I had to put down the book occasionally and think, well, actually, would I have done that? They were realistic reasons and they were genuine concerns. They weren't silly, petty concerns. They were genuine reasons for keeping things back, and I felt that made it all the more realistic and believable. So anyway, as you can tell, I absolutely loved The Winner's Curse. So I gave that 5 stars and literally went straight on to reading Winner's Crime. I'm just looked at my notes that I made for this, and I've written, I have to wait for over a year for the final book. I feel sick thinking about what will happen. So as you can tell, the next year or so is going to be very difficult for me, and it's a brilliant story. I feel invested in the characters, and often you can get second book syndrome where books aren't quite as good as the first and they're sort of packaging just to get to the next story, but there was so much going on in here, so much storyline, so much plot, so much intrigue, so much interest. It just pulled you through. There wasn't anything missing from this, I didn't feel. Part of me at times felt a bit frustrated with Kestrel, but as I said in the last book, I can understand certain of her reasons for the things that she does in this. I'm not going to go into detail because I really don't want to spoil it for people. All I will say is that this book continues from where the last one left off, and so you feel like you're sucked straight back into the story and you continue at a fast pace from the outset. It takes you on a journey this time of, again, political intrigue and heart-wrenching betrayal. Yeah, so I'll leave that one with you and you can think of it what you will. It's not a spoiler. I don't think I've given anything away with that. This 2 books that I've read so far have made me really eager. I'm definitely picking up the 3rd book of this. I can't wait now. I can't believe that's the only problem if all of the books aren't out in a series when you read them, is that wait. Often I wait until a whole series comes out and then I read it, but with this I just couldn't wait and now I have to. So yeah. So 5 stars for these 2 books. They were well worth the hype. And well worth the read, so I definitely recommend, give them a go. If you like fantasy YA, if you like political intrigue, strong female characters, I would definitely recommend these to read. So big thumbs up from me. And yeah, so that's my review of Winner's Curse and Winner's Crime, and I hope you found it interesting and maybe found some of the points interesting, and maybe if you haven't read them, it's piqued your interest to pick them up. And if you've read Winner's Curse, I hope this has got you excited for Winner's Crime, which I believe comes out on March 2015 in the UK. I'm not sure when it comes out in the US, but in the UK it's out on March 2015. Okay. Bye for now, BookTube.